Hello, everybody. In lieu of mailing a message, today we're going to be sharing with you just some answers, some opinions about things that you wanted to know. And so I know Maddie Jo has a list of questions that you've sent either online or that you've actually verbalized. We have some that were sent into our, our public relations person. And so we're going to kind of get to those questions. First of all, again, I want to thank you for being a part of the ministry, and I have no idea what questions, all the questions are going to be asked, so it's going to be kind of random. So if I look like I'm scrambling, it's because I'm just trying to figure it out as I go. Before, a little disclaimer, I don't know everything about everything, and most of what I'm going to give you is an opinion. Of course, if it's in a Bible book based, I'll do the best I can with that, but if I don't know, I'll say, I don't know. All right, so again, we're glad that you're here. Hope you'll spend the next few minutes with us and just whatever the questions are. So we're going to hit at it, Mary, Maddie Jo. Mary's thinking about me. So Maddie Jo, what is it you wanted to ask?
Okay, so the first question we'll start with something about you and what personal projects are you working on right now?
It seems like I'm always in the process of something new, and I'm always asking God to do or bring to my mind things that are so God-sized that I can never accomplish myself. And so I think what we're always working on, like I'm thinking of ideas of what we're getting ready to do, a Foggy Valley reunion. And so I'm thinking and trying to get ideas on how to write and what we're going to go toward that. So that's in the back of my mind, playing all these different scenarios while I'm getting ideas in from the other cast members as well, and trying to figure out where we want to go with the direction of that. So that's one of the productions that I'll be writing. Also, this process that we've been through over the last few months has caused me to think, what do we need to do next as a ministry? It changes literally every day. But some of the projects, of course, that are ahead of us, instead of doing camp this summer, we're having to think of, is it going to be a day camp? How am I going to put all those things together? What's going to be the theme of that? As we go forward with this, what do kids need to really hear and teenagers really need to hear, and kind of work in those workshops and get prepared for our summer camps. Also, I'm working on a project, and it's a music project that I'm working on. Hopefully I'll have it out by the end of the year, maybe even as early as the fall is where I'd like to have it, work through some things through the summer. As you know, I have a lot of songs I've recorded. It looks like, well, your last album was so-and-so, but the volume of songs that I've written since my last album has been vast, because I've been writing for production after production after production with all new songs within those productions, and that I've tried to pull, not necessarily Easter, but like Christmas, and we got the 50 show songs that were written, just so many different ones since the last project. And so, but I've actually been writing songs on the side that the Lord has given me through things that He's taken me through that no one's heard yet, which is exciting. And there are a couple of songs that were done in the Easter production that I wrote maybe a couple of years ago that I have never recorded. And I felt, I got them out, but they're really viable songs like Die to Me, which I love, and No Crown Without a Cross. But there will be some of those that you might be familiar with, and there's some that no one has ever even heard. And so I'll be working with Missy to get all these things recorded down and send them to a couple of my friends that are real producers and bigger producers to get those things done. So hopefully a new CD will come out in the fall, and we're putting some compilation things together. The best of Billy Wayne. We've had an old one of that. We're going to revamp that, pull that back in, and have it available. I still have kids from my past, and even adults saying, "Hey, that camp from so and so, and those songs in the past. Can you put those together in some kind of collection?" So we're working on that. That won't require a lot of work on my behalf, but we've still got to pull all those things together. So that's as far as music projects, theater projects. Again, the shows that we've shared with you, the Foggy Valley shows. I'm constantly writing things for that, and then we have our fall shows coming up. Going back to revisit some of the things that we've done in our past, just because this is our 15th year anniversary, and we wanted to be able to kind of come out with more I think we're doing Home for the Holidays, which we've not done in years, to pull that show back, and just some things in the fall we've not done in a while, but then also bring some new programming. So that's where we are with that one.
So the CD that you did last was kind of the best of yours, and that was either most of like everyone's favorites or ones that people, I guess, request the most. But if you had to pick a favorite, could you?
Favorite album? Or
Okay,
favorite
favorite
song?
both. Favorite album and favorite
Oh
song.
my gosh. Let's see. Oh. I think when a writer writes, you write where you are in that moment and in that time. And some songs don't even get to an album. There's so many. I have books full of songs that I've never written. But if you're talking about songs that have been out there already, albums, probably I love, if I go back to the old albums, was probably, I liked The Call, which is a great project. It's a lot of fun stuff on it. It's dated, but the music was so relevant for the time. And then there was one right after that, near that, when I'm trying to think, because it's all foggy right now. There's The Call, and what was the other one?
See, they're beside of you.
Oh, are they there? Oh, where are they?
We've got
There's
An
some.
Act of God.
That's it. Those were
Okay.
the two. Those are probably my two favorite albums because I think that they captured a lot. And I was probably at the height of my whatever. I was on the road at that time and was really at the height of everything with all the big, huge concerts and things that I was doing. So they bring back a lot of memories. Those were fun albums to do because I had full bands with me that traveled with me. And we were literally at a different place almost every night. It's the only time we weren't at different places is in summer was really our slower time, believe it or not, for concerts. We'd be in one, like at a week of camp for one place. We're in a hotel for one whole week. This is amazing. Because other than that, you're in a different place almost every, like a half a week. Like you'd be somewhere for Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, but then you'd be somewhere else Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Then you'd be in a whole new state, whatever. It was an amazing journey. So those two albums bring back a lot, which is Act of God and The Call. If I had to pick off of those, oh my gosh, I don't know what songs were on those, but I know when I wrote Abandoned to God, they're a whole different album, I think. That was a powerful song for me because it was something that was being required of me. Oswald Chambers had read a book called Abandoned to God. Now I heard about people talking about be abandoned from something, or you walk away, but to be abandoned to God, to leave everything to follow Him. And so a biography was written on his life, and of course I read my Most for His Highest and devotional book, and it just inspired me. Every day was extremely inspiring. So I wrote the song Abandoned to God, which was to me, to my heart. Act of God is a great a song too. It took an act of God to change my life forever. And I think that video is out online somewhere, music video floating around. It's so funny because I used to be in concert and had music videos that played of all my stuff back behind me. And I don't know what happened through the years. I guess because I went from VHS to DVD. That all those music videos were just lost. I know they're around here somewhere in this building floating around, but they're probably at least 10 to 12 music videos of songs that I've done. Of some of the most popular. Johnny's song was a video, a beautiful song, and it was that told the whole story. I remember going and filming it in jail and doing all this stuff. We talked about Johnny going to jail, and then we did a patriotic song. We actually Washington D.C. and recorded. What is the one song?
United We Stand?
No, it was before United We Stand. Anyway, it was. We filmed it in Washington, and I went and filmed it at all the monuments. We must pledge our lives to Jesus. We must honor His command. Lifting high His royal banner. Now's the time to take a stand. I remember that. The Oath. It was a great, great song, and it was so bum-ba-da-dum. And I remember the cool thing is we went back to Washington this past year. You went with us, and I know we were looking at the things, but I could remember filming, and you've seen that now. You probably couldn't even go up there and film. Now I'm not sure how they would do it, if they may throw you off the steps, but we literally walked up. This was so funny. We walked up to the boom boxes that played it on digital, because CD was digital at the time, and I had to sing with that and mouth the words and do all these different shots on all these different buildings. Then they went back and re-edited it and put it all into one. So you'd stand there seeing all these visitors coming. You're standing there doing your music videos, and everybody, they're got all these cameras and stuff. So it was a lot of fun to film in Washington, D.C. I had a lot of things that I filmed in New York City, and all those are on big music videos that we'll find a treasure one day when we open it up. So those were two. The songs I've written, songs that really speak to me. He came to me. I was going through a time in my life when I couldn't go to God. He came to me. Those are some really good ballads that really spoke to my heart. But one of the funnest songs, two of the songs that really that made headway for me. I had never written any songs ever. I was always using a lot of cover songs when I first started back in, I don't know, 1989, and which I made my first album. Then it was all cover songs. I didn't have guts enough to do mine, and so, but I was writing, and I was in the shower at my friend Steve Griffith's house. He was pastoring a church at the time, he and his wife, and I was in the bathroom, and I started singing this song called "Tell Them," which is about my family. And God had given it to me because my brother tried to commit suicide. I failed to tell my home family about Jesus? I would go around traveling, and the Lord gave me this vision about my dad and him coming back, and my brother and my dad were still here. And I wrote this song called "Tell Them." And so that one has a special place for me. I sang it, and I remember singing it in the shower, just singing at the top of my lungs. And so Steve tricked me, and he said, "You go to the church tonight." He said, "I want you to sing this song." And they were having a revival, and he said, "Sing that song. Who wrote that song?" I said, I was embarrassed. I said, "I did," because I thought he was going to make fun of it. He goes, "That's powerful. Will you do it at church tonight?" I said, "I wrote it, please." He said, "I won't tell anybody that you wrote it, just if you'll just sing it." So I sang it that night, and people were crying, and I was trying to get through the song, got through the song, and at the end of it, he goes, "Billy wrote that song." He said, I wouldn't tell anybody before you sang it. So then it became a staple, and I ended up recording it, going to the studio, and really cool about it, fast forward it. Now that was one of the first songs I wrote, and then probably fast forward almost 10 years later, I re-recorded that song, and we sent it in. Somebody sent it in. I think Lee Sexton sent it in to the Gospel Music Association, which do Dove Awards, and that was the first one they recognized and got, pulled aside and got into this competition and was picked as Spotlight Song of the Year. And I got to sing it at GMA, and all these people here at Your Nervous Wreck and all these who's and has. And so you got to perform that, which was really, really, really awesome. And then another song, which the following year, I think the song was "The Call," which is Nathan Rain's favorite song. It's a lot of fun. It's very dated, but it's got such a groove to it. And it's very international. And at that time, our songs that were more international got like this. And it was recognized as Spotlight Artist and Song of the Year for the next, I think, a couple years later. And that song, "The Call," goes out to all the nations. It's that whole Great Commission. To every man, woman, boy, and girl. Now's the time for our salvation to redeem a lost and dying world. And that call, shout the news to all creation. Spread the word throughout the land. 'Tis the time of jubilation to fulfill the great command. And I remember the background hearing when we recorded it, because Scotty Wilbanks was my producer at the time. And here you're hearing New Song, the group New Song, which was so big and won all these Grammy, not just Dove Awards, there were Grammy Awards and all that. And I'm sitting here going, oh my gosh, it was like hearing them. They were my backup singers, and they were my musicians. And Scotty, and the funny thing is, I never promoted anything, and there was no such thing as the internet. There was no such thing as all this stuff. And so they heard my song on a listening. I mean, not internet, rather. There wasn't Facebook, and I had some songs on what's called a music listening room, and he went in there. Scotty just happened to see it. He sent me an email one day. He said, "You don't know me. My name is Scotty Wilbanks." I still didn't know who he was. And he said, "I would love to produce you. I love your songs." He'd heard a album I did before with a guy named Dan Knuckle, who's produced everybody from Nick Lachey to everybody. He does pop songs. He's multi-Grammy award winner. He heard me and wanted to produce me. And that's so funny. I prayed, "Lord, don't ever let me just push down doors." And they literally would call me and say, "I'm interested in doing this." He heard my music. Scotty did. "I want to do your next album." Walked in, and then all these people that the who's and stuff are doing your music and singing. So those are some fun memories. And I never did call for a single booking in my life, none of those things. Some of you know that. And when I first started out, I just stepped out in faith in 1989 and had some things booked to March. And by the end of the year, I was booked up the rest of the year. I spent most time I ever spent at home. The last several years of my life was 20 days out of the year. I counted them up one time, so I don't know. And it was usually around Christmas. And I came in for Fun Fest. I used to do a concert down here. That's the only time I was in. Two concerts a year here in the Tri-Cities. No one ever knew me here. I got here to these conventions and everybody knew who I was. And it was so funny. I remained a Christian music artist, but I also remained an independent artist. I had opportunity to sign 4 different album covers, the Who's Who's and Big Bigs, but just that's not what I wanted. I didn't want them to have control over what I was doing ministry-wise. So I opted out and remained an independent artist, and just had a great time with it. So I don't know, I just answered a big long rigmarole about that, so now you know more about it. So different songs for different times in my life, I think. Tragedies and things I've been through, a lot of grief that I write. I wanted to praise God and worship Him one day, and I go to His Word, and that's when we get Song of D. You are worthy, Lord, of all glory and honor. Straight from Revelation. And just found myself in the presence of the Lord out behind a pine tree. And I write things in the middle of the night, get up and scribble on pieces of paper and they on napkins or whatever I've got, trying to keep those and cram in a book and have all these songs ready to unleash upon the world. So been so focused on getting this theater up and going for the last 15 years. Really take a little break, especially in the last. I was still in that music industry for about 5 years, really pretty heavy, but the last 10 years really focused on getting moved from there to here, and it's taken a lot of my time. So the music went on the back burner, so I'm ready to bring that back out again and see what we can do with that. All right, does that help?
Yeah, I was getting ready to touch on that. Since this is gonna go on the theater page, because we're gonna release it there first. Of course, they can find it on your Facebook page as well. But most of those who watch on the theater page only know this as the theater, Lamplight Theater, and so they don't know about how much the music industry was in your life before the theater, especially before the past 15 years if they didn't know you before then. So I guess that'll kind of lead into like the transition of guess that God brought you through the past, because there for a while you were still doing both, and then now here, and now we're at our 15-year anniversary. So
I feel like I've lived 2 lifetimes.
Yeah. So I know a lot of people are kind of curious about that, especially here. I would say most people, even in the shows, don't know about that.
I never get that element, which I really miss performing as a Christian music artist. I didn't think I would at first, because you're on the road, you're sleeping in different hotels every night, you have a small group you're with all the time, and the theaters just open up all these people and so much drama. It's like I didn't have all that, The drama was different because you're pouring into people's lives and you're fighting that fans, like thousands of, when I say thousands upon thousands, and it's not a bragging thing. I didn't like that part, believe it or not. The bus would be ready, everybody would break down the equipment, the other truck would go on with all our equipment, the bus would be still waiting. They're very patient. I had a wonderful staff. And they would have even my bed turned down waiting for me, and they'd be patiently waiting till that last person. Sometimes you'd stand there for an hour and a half, 2 hours after a concert, just signing autographs and praying and encouraging people. It sounds like glamorous, but it's very taxing. But yeah, it's a different world. As a matter of fact, there are a lot of people that don't know me with theater at all. They don't even know me as a theater person. I did shows in Eden, North Carolina. I did an Easter show and Halloween, helped them out, but only if you were involved around there did you know. Everybody knew me as a Christian music artist. It's all I've ever been known as. And so 25 years of my life I gave to that, besides the 4 years that I sing in college. If you add all of it together, it's over 30 years of just music. And that's crazy. And so, and I'm thankful for that. But those people will call and say, "You still doing music?" I got a letter. I'll tell you this the other day, it was so funny. You remember when I did the little concert here? Because people found me, the people know me as a Christian music artist, just go find Billy Wayne. Mm-hmm. And they don't know you even have a theater. So that night, a guy came on from West Virginia, and he said, "I saw your song, and you sang I'm a survivor. We must sing it that night, and I think Hannah started sing that song. I'm a survivor. So I sang that song, and this kid from West Virginia said, "Oh, dude, that brought back such memories." And he reminded him of where he was. He said, "I came to this survivor camp that you had. I did a conference. It was called Soul Survivor, and he came to it, and he said I had a life change there. And now he and his wife are like CPAs, and they're getting ready to have their first child. And he's just like, it brought back this flood of a revival in my heart. And I mean, they said support our ministry, but he had not heard. And these people that like, I didn't hear this song, and oh, are you still gonna do it? And they kind of sparked something. And I remember last year, y'all said to me, you need to do a comeback thing, and so I said, no one wants to hear me. And remember when we had the concert here, and I thought, there won't be anybody come. And it was so funny. If you looked across the audience, the people who came that night were not our people.
No.
They were my kids from camp that only knew me as a Christian music artist. I was still doing camps back then for at-risk kids, even under the music ministry. I was doing that. And so these kids were bringing their kids. That's scary. But anyway, and so their kids were coming, and we had a plethora of people out there that I only knew as an artist, as a Christian music artist, that have never been to this theater.
Yeah.
And that just blew, and it was local when we had some out of town. But I mean, that was just crazy. So I think it is a crazy world. People don't know me. And it's funny because people here don't know that as an artist. And I think they said, well, we've heard you sing in a show. And I remember Scotty Wilbeck, my producer, said this. He used to say to me, he said, it's one thing to go see a Christian artist perform or a musician perform. He said, but it's another thing. How did he say it? He said, you've got people that are music artists, and you've got this thing. I said, what are you saying? He said, Billy Wayne is not a concert, just a concert. I think is how he said it. Billy Wayne is an experience, whatever that meant. And I think because, he said, 1 minute, he said, you have an audience. And he said, I don't know how to, because I'll be honest with you, really probably because my greatest gift is really not music, or it's not acting, or it's really probably just communication. So I think when Scotty would say, he'd say, 1 minute, he said, it's like you have them. And he said, you just speak and people just stop. He said, you go out on the road, these guys nobody's paying attention. You stand and say, hey, listen up here. And he said, it's like the whole crowd just stops. And he said, what makes them do that? I said, I really don't know. But he said, just like you walk in this authority, and he said, you don't call them out. All of a sudden, you start singing, everybody starts engaging. He said, then you've got them laughing, they're up on their feet. Next minute, he said, they're broken, and they're at an altar. And then you bring it back up, and you love on them. He said, no artist does that. Nobody. He said, you take them on this journey about life and real experiences, and you celebrate with them, and then you love on them. Weep with those who weep, and you celebrate with those. And so, and I do miss that. I miss doing that. But sometimes you think, well, that chapter's gone in my life. No one really cares about all that stuff anymore because I'm old has-been. But there's a part of me that aches and misses that, because to me, that's a part of my ministry that I've put on hold for probably 10 years. Now, don't get me wrong, that I go out, you get to go with me on weekends, where again, those people have never been to the theater down here. They don't know me as that. Oh, Billy's coming to do a concert on such and such night where I'm going to be, and the church packs out. Okay, and then you're speaking on Sunday morning, you're challenging the students, and that's what I've done all my life. And there's still people out there that's still all they know you as. They've still never been here, and so you've gotten to see some of that. Your dad used to travel with me as a little road manager, and he used to love it. He'd go out there and minister to the kids, and the altar call was his thing. He loved it. And open up and introduce and pray, and he just took care of me, and he knows what that's like. There's so many people, and it's a whole different world. And it was very hard transition for me, I will say that, because here you are, you're on a bus, and you are the headliner, and then people see you, and you've got the band that you're trying to keep in line and pour in their lives. You got a publicity team. We had it was like a smaller warehouse of just merchandise. We were selling out and sending out and mailing out, and T-shirts and CDs and Bible studies, and then you come here, that shift of, we got to take care of Billy, we got to get him out here, we got to make sure as that Christian artist that everything's going, give him his time, he's writing, he's gone to see his producers, he's in Atlanta, he's in Nashville, he's trying to get, and then you come back, and then all of a sudden it's not Billy and this group of people ensemble that's supporting Billy. I had to turn that ship around to now we have a team, and I'm just a part of that. Not just a part, but you really are, like, you're not the main focus of anything. And so there were times I went through this grieving process of like, no one's helping me. There's nobody. I feel like there's this team effort, but I'm trying to create these teams. So giving somebody else this, and a whole team comes together, and everybody's opinion is important, and you're trying to make sure everybody has what they have. And I didn't have to do that before. It was like me and a microphone, and then the band was there to support me, and it was a whole different ballgame. Here, it's like, no, it's like Billy's in the background and pushing everybody else to the forefront, and that's the job I do here. It's getting performers ready and things like that. So it's a different world, and I had to learn to be a team player and not be the one that everybody's kind of running around this Christian artist. So that was a transition for me. I grieved that part. Part of me was like, oh man, now I have to. I never carried my luggage. I know it sounds crazy. I didn't have to do that. Anyway, because I wasn't above it. I was, from the time where I was going, I was meeting with people and trying to get ready for the venue, or meeting with the pastors, or meeting with the people of the prayer team. And by the time I got to my hotel room, everything was set up, everything was done. When I left the hotel room, my board of directors made it clear, we got these people around you. I never carried, pulled, lifted. All that stuff was done with. I had a bus. I sat in the back of the bus. I wrote. It was just a whole different lifestyle. I had to get used to. You're part of a team, and you got to pull your weight and go back to that. Now, I've always been a worker, but I didn't realize how easy I had it sometimes. But it's a different world. It's not the same here. So I do miss that, and I wish other people were here. I would love to be able to do, like, we had that concert, but it's all tracks and stuff. But I'm talking about my full-blown concerts. We had lighting and sound and full musicians and backup singers. I had 12 people that traveled with me that just kept that part going, not including like the tech people who drove a different truck, and there were 3 on that team that went ahead and had all these people lined up with riders to come in and unload and get all the sound equipment. I'm talking about just my band members alone. I had probably 8 band members, and then I had a road manager, and then I had an A&R person, which is artist relations person, and it was just a whole bus driver. It was just a different world. And I come here and we created a different kind of team, and it's just a weird transition. And I don't know how to marry the two.
Well, I was getting ready to go to that. I think last year was probably one of the biggest years that the two, I guess, were married, because you did your comeback concert, throwback concert that we got together, and then you also did And God Was Watching, which was your life story, which talked about
so people kind of got to see.
Yeah, when you first got into theater, and then when you were like, oh no, and then God called you to do, to become a music artist, and then you kind of come back, and it shows the whole startup of the theater, which I think most people here thought it's always been here. So they kind of got to see what all happened before that.
It was a weird year.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, I've had people say to me, well, Billy, you got your music much, or, you write this stuff. And so I've had opportunities for people to come and say, won't you come and, wouldn't you consider leading worship locally now that you're here and it is? And I think people also confuse, worship leading and a Christian music artist. They're 2 different worlds. And not that I don't do praise and worship, but a Christian music artist, with the way I write around people's lives, and that even my songs can also be preachy at times. They've got a message in them, and they've got something you're sharing. You're taking people on this musical journey, and it's more where you do vertical, and it's about God, and you're giving Him worship, but you're telling people that you're worth something and God can change you. Call on Him and look at this person and what God did in their life, and God will meet you where you are, and you need to leave your life and follow Him. And I won't live a life of compromise, and these words that you're preaching. And so then, and that's that artistry that you're doing, and you're taking people on this journey, and you got a moment and you're creating this thing. And whereas a worship artist, they say, come in and be a worship leader, it's all vertical. Oh, Father, we worship you and we adore you. and the thing is, if you'll notice when I do my retreats, I bring in a praise and worship team. That's not my calling. It doesn't mean I don't do it, and I like to lead worship. It's just I'm not called to it, which makes me feel awkward. I feel extremely awkward leading worship, which you wouldn't think that would be. It's just that it's not awkward and going to the Lord, because I get lost in my songs. I forget, God will say sometimes, there's people here. Because I'll do some praise and worship songs, but a full worship experience to take you there, and it's just completely vertical. Because I'm an evangelist, I have a heart to say, while I have this relationship with God, I have to look at people and say, but you can have that too. And that's what I want to be able to say, but you can have this relationship with God. And I want to be able to get that message and do that great and challenge the church. Go out there and, do your call. God's want you to lead people to Christ and kind of challenge them. And it's not just vertical, it's horizontal. And it's just a different world. So, and that's what's so hard here. Yeah, I could go lead worship, be okay with that, but it's not as fulfilling as the call, my evangelistic message where I'm sharing to pull people in to come to know the Lord. But yeah, it's we got to marry it and all that. I just but you miss it. I miss being out there. I love being here, but I miss being that out. And there was a time where we were able to balance it well, and I love that. But then this ministry required so much when we moved here from Fall Branch, and now that we're getting more people in place, maybe that's going to open doors for me to be able to do more. Well, I'm not going to be some famous artist that somebody's going to ever, but it doesn't matter to me if there's a group of 50 or 100 out there, but to have those opportunities to be able to share with people the message of I still have a lot in me that I've not got to correct to get out there. So more messages.
Okay, so I guess we'll kind of change gears back to the theater now that we've, what people probably didn't know any of that. So we'll kind of go back to some of the questions that were asked about the theater. And I know things here are starting to look different, starting to change. But I guess where we could start with that is you can start with the transition we're going through now, or even just how we got here, or just go that way.
We've had a lot of changes, just moving from there to here, and then having to get buildings that would hold more. And then a lot of people say, well, I want to make this clear too. I think people say, well, you got all these buildings, and if you just said, what people don't understand, we would have never moved to this building had we not sold the other one. So, well, that's not true. You didn't sell. We were, and I won't mention the group, but we were with a group that had already, before we bought this, one of the things that we had to make sure we'd sell that property so we wouldn't have that on our back. And so we had already, when we moved into a contract with a group to buy that building out there, that's when we moved into a contract here. Okay, so everything was on go. Well, this building was we closed on this building, the theater. But when we closed on the theater, and we only had, 5 days from our closing on the other theater, which was just like maybe a week later or something after we got this building, it wasn't very long. The people we were in a contract out there, because we wanted to sell that building before we moved, so we didn't have it on us. They'd already paid their good faith money. We're waiting for the closing, and they came and said, we're going to back out of the deal. And we were devastated. And we're like, what? And they said, we're going to give you the good faith money, which was like $5,000. But somebody offered us a facility for free, and we can't pass that up. And we thought, okay, we'll have another buyer. It's fine. And so that's when we couldn't say no to them. We'd already closed on ours. So we were here, and then since then we've had 3 or 4 different ministries out at the old property, and some have done well and fixed things up, others destroyed, and it's the nature of it. And that we've gotten back hold of it, our hands have been back in it again, and we've done some revitalizations on it, and worked a whole lot in the last month or so, trying to get things up to par, and hoping to do more events out there till God, because it's been up for sale, it's not, and so we figure we're almost have it paid off now, so to use it for, how does God want to use that facility? And then, of course, here with these facilities here to say we want to be debt-free by 23. And if nothing else, the COVID virus has taught us we don't want to owe men anything on mortgages and stuff. So debt-free by 23. And with all of our buildings and every bit of debt we have, it may be right at $1 million, which sounds a lot, but if you understand the price of these buildings, what we have on these buildings down here, that is nothing compared to what these buildings are worth. So we have very little debt when you look at it that way, compared to people with the same facilities that we would have. These would be multi-million-dollar buildings combined, our facilities. But to have that little, it's a lot. Debt to me, it's like trillions of dollars to me. But God's already working on that. We've had people that call and said, look, I want to take X amount off. I want to donate 60,000 here. I want to make sure that's taken care of, so you don't owe me on this. I want to drop what you owe me on interest here. We're only going to go here. We've had people just stepping up when they found out we're doing this. We're actually now going to the bank. We have to get that one refinanced every 5 years, the commercial loan out there. We're hoping to roll some of that in to get that taken care of. So it's like this is just falling off in chunks, and that's our prayer. Is then we start this capital fundraising thing, debt free by 23. And try to get investors to come in and individuals and challenge people here, and not this penny ante things that we want to do this little thing and put a roof. We want to pay our debt off. And so within 3 years to try to get people to do that, find whatever we got to do to get this taken care of so that we can employ more people and invest in people, that we can get more people saved and get teachers and pastors and more staff members to come in and program, and whether it's a performing arts building that we're teaching classes, bigger and bigger and bigger, that we want to be able to make this much, much larger than what it is. So we have great plans for here. A couple things, just practical things that we'd like to do in the spring. I think this is that we're trying to get, we're getting in some quotes. It's crazy trying to save money back to do this and stay open for Corona, but we've got to do a facelift on our building. The building was a beautiful bronze when we opened. Now it's pink up on the top part and kind of dirty on the bottom. So we're trying to, and this building's green beside it. We want one whole building. Top of that cornice fixed, new awning, just a facelift. We want carpet down the aisles with lighting and things like that. Just some little practical things. And then maybe within the next year, once, getting these things paid off as we move along, because nothing's going to be done that we don't have cash for, and making sure we do it, or somebody wants to make a donation to do. We want to finish our balcony and make it a place where it's a little bit different. We have to raise the seats up so the angle can be better, and be able to have some extra seating up there, and also have catering services up there. So if you bring a date and have somebody come to your table and bring you some appetizers, and have a real special area up there for people to be able to and increase our seating. We could probably have as many as another 150 plus people up there, that we can have more people to be able to see programs and things. So that's some of the things. We want bigger on our public relations. I'd love for our name to be a household name within the Tri-Cities, and also to hit nationally and get our thing out there. We're one of only a handful of full-time Christian theaters. There are a lot of people doing Christian theater, but full-time Christian theaters that are open every weekend doing something. Probably only I only know of maybe 3 in the United States of America that's even doing that. One, of course, is Sight and Sound. There's another one in California, and there's us. Now, there's other Christian theaters that may do 3 productions a year or something like that, but not something that's going constantly every weekend. There may be more, but I'm not aware of them. And me, I'm pretty up on what's going on, unless it's a secret somewhere. And so we're just praying that God will show us where we need to be. We are the regions, no question about, we want to be America's premier Christian theater, and that intimacy, not like Sight and Sound, which is wonderful, but they're like mega, multi-million-dollar Broadway. We don't have the facilities big enough to do that. And I'm okay with being more intimate and but have that quality entertainment. So, yeah, some good stuff going on here.
Okay.
Did I answer that question?
You did,
Okay.
actually, yes. So I'm going to mix a couple of questions that were asked through comments, and also touch on something that you mentioned. So we have a lot of new stuff that's happening here, and a lot of things are changing, but also things have changed recently, just the way that it looks right now for us because of the coronavirus and all this that's happening. And so some people are curious of like how that's affected you, the theater, and our staff, and also some of the things that we've kind of had to transition and start doing, we were never streaming live this much, and so that brings the question of, are we going to still keep it up? Are we going to try to do both? And how are we going to do that? So I guess that's one way. Or
I think ministry is always dictated by what your culture is. So let's clarify that first. Because I think if you think, well, what about the theater? Because everybody's thinking the theater, because that's all they know. But you know me, and other people know me. Well, I'm a minister. And so people say, I heard people say, oh, what if they shut the theater down? And what if they just shut all the theater down and it has to close because you can't make a mortgage and blah, 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 blah. Because we had to face that. That was the reality. It's like, okay, if money doesn't come in, the theater will shut, we'll foreclose. And it's not going to be our fault. I mean, if you don't have money, we're not going to make payments. It's not going to happen. And so we had to, but when people, were you anxious, Billy, that was going to shut? No, because my ministry will never shut down. Let me explain that. I've been called to full-time ministry. And the face of ministry, I have no lie, since I started in full-time ministry. I was called to ministry in college, but I stepped out in full-time ministry in 1989. And it has never looked the same. I've had to recreate myself. Even as a Christian music artist, you have to change your music about every 5 years. You have to change how you do things. And like we went from nothing, then we started doing all the videos and all the big tech stuff, and then I brought a band on. So we're constantly recreating things. Then it was the theater, and we had it way out there, and then we got to move downtown. And in other words, the face of ministry changes, because I always said ministry is born out of need, and so what the needs are where you are have to be different. And where those needs are and where God calls you, that ministry has to change. You know, I used to do mission trips to Mexico. That door began to shut because of the drug cartel. I couldn't go anymore. And so then I was able to focus more on children's stuff. And so everything changes. So my thought was, well, what if they shut it down? Well, they shut it down. Well, I guess the ministry, no. If I had to pick on the side of the street and the Lord wanted us to continue doing theater, what the people don't understand is when I came back those couple times a year, and at Christmas I used to do Yuletide, I've rented almost every, seems like every high school, and every, we've done shows at Civic Auditorium, we've done shows at the old Linview School, we've done shows at the Renaissance Center, we did shows at Gate City High School. All my Christmas productions at Yuletide were done at whatever facilities that we could get at the time. And so it had nothing to do with buildings. My ministry is based on what God's called me to do, and that's evangelism. Two things we have as a mission is go out and share the gospel of Jesus with the lost and see lost people come to know Christ, and then to see Christians encouraged in their walk of faith. And so the ministry has changed. So culture has changed. So like I told you before, my ministry, it was all newsletter, grassroots, the whole thing, no such thing as the internet. When I first started, I never called for a single book. It was booked all over the United States, sung in over 50 states. I mean, all of them, okay? Awesome. No internet. How do you do that? Y'all wouldn't even know how to do it nowadays. And I don't know how it did. God did it because he just kept opening doors from one place to the next, and I never did any of that. And so now we have this internet, so we utilize it, right? So we're going to utilize the internet. So we start with what we have. Well, when this shut down, everybody had to use internet. I won't take those things away because I think they're vital and they're extremely important. Thankful for that. So we'll continue do it. Now, will I continue doing the cooking show? Heck no. I mean, yes and no. What I mean by that, there's no way I could cook 5 days a week and still come in here and do my shows at night, have tech weeks, and there's no way. It's physically impossible to be 2 or 3 places at one time. So what's it going to look like? The answer to that is I have no idea. But I do know it won't stop. Does that mean that where I had insight before and I just come and share a word, maybe it's always going to be mailing a message on Tuesdays? Will that day change? It may change. I don't know what it's going to look like. But we'll do more. We did this online programming, and so people were watching it. We have a way now that people might not want to come out anymore. We've been looking into ways that you could actually watch live, which we have to get better cameras, better angles, better positions and all that, where people can pay a fee and watch a live performance from home. We're looking into all of that. We're looking at all these possibilities. We started our movies. The company we're putting out these shorts, been working on. Nothing's completed yet because of the weather but we're hoping to get all these movie projects and smaller film projects done and get those out. That's another whole door that's been opened. So yeah, there's different media that's going to happen. It's going to look different, but yes, I think you can't say, "Oh, we'll go back." There's no way to return to what it is. And how do we know when we open? Is anybody going to come? I don't know. And if they come, they may come in droves, and we have to increase our housing. They may come and not. There's no way to answer until you know where the need is. And so I think what's been important, and I think we have done, is we have truly adjusted. And I don't mean to pat ourselves on the back, but I think as a ministry, probably in all of the Tri-Cities, of any ministry that I know, we have been on and in the public eye probably more than anybody else in the Tri-Cities. And it's not their fault. I mean, I've had the convenience of being able to stick a phone up in my face every day and do a cooking show and do a challenge. Then on Saturday we were able to do the programming, and then on Sunday I'm preaching, and then and that was all come because I couldn't get to the church that I was going to, and we had to do it to whatever. And so those were born out of need again. But I've been on there 6 days a week in some aspect. Most pastors will do a Sunday morning, then they do a midweek 20-minute thing, and not that that's bad. And then they'll go come on my website and here's my daily devotions and things like that. But as far as being in the public eye and offering things, I think as a ministry we've been out there, and because it's needed. And so I will go where there's a need, and we'll make a way to get there, to get that word there. So I think that's what's important. So it will change, it'll look different, but I don't know what it's going to look like.
Yeah, I think it's safe to say, like you said, we have adjusted and made sure that we've stayed out there. And I think that during this time that we've kind of been in like a semi, I guess, shut down to the public, we really have taken time to reevaluate and revamp and change. So I guess that's our big announcements that we've wanted everybody to tune in for.
Can we make those announcements?
Yeah, so I think that's kind of the last thing that we have to say.
I know there were some other questions. I know people were just asking some random questions about just life things and ministry or scriptural things. I think now this is a random question that was asked me, do I think that the Antichrist wasn't if I thought the Antichrist
No.
we'll know he's the Antichrist. Did Jesus know that he was Jesus? I mean that he was the Christ. I think as a child, you're a child, and you come to this age of understanding where you come into be. There's things that you don't even. But I knew God's hand was on me at the beginning, and I'm sure the Antichrist is going to know, just like Jesus probably knew God's hand was on him at the beginning, and he knew his call from the earliest of the age that he could recollect. And I'm sure that the Antichrist is not going to be clueless, and all of a sudden they're going to be the Antichrist. I am sure that spirit of darkness and that association with the enemy will be there, embedded in him. I'm sure Hitler just didn't wake up one day and start and just become. I think it was in his character and his nature from the beginning. So I think he'll have an insight of who kind of where he's going into. So do I have a biblical answer to that? No. We know there'll probably come power if he's the Antichrist. He's supposed to be like that at age of 33 or whatever, to his full ministry about that same age. He's going to present himself in a mighty way. But I think he will, when he comes into power, absolutely he will know he's the Antichrist. There's no question. He will have an agenda and he will accomplish that. But in his formative years, I don't know how much he'll know. I don't know how much the enemy, but there are certain things that are going to have to transpire for it to take power. So I know that was just a kind of a theological question on the side. And the coronavirus has affected us. But I'll be honest with you. Somebody asked me how it affected me personally. I want to answer that too before we go to these announcements. How has it affected me personally? This is going to sound crazy, but I want you to listen to me. And I think I've shared this on my cooking show. Is that while I know it's challenged the church, it's challenged religion tremendously. As far as like, if you just were a religious person, you probably suffered over the last couple months. Of like, I need to be back to my church family. I've got to have this, and my preacher's not preaching. I'm going online and I can't even find the page, and this is all. And honestly, it sounds crazy because all I've done is minister so many days, and even I don't do once a week ministry. I literally all my life is every day I wake up to do ministry. So I think the day we woke up and things were closed, we morphed into that. It was no question about what we're going to do next. Can I be honest with you? I don't remember how we started the cooking show. Do you remember? Who asked me to do it? Somebody asked me, say, you're going to be home tomorrow, why don't you you were with me the first day, but I don't remember saying we're going to do it all week.
I don't remember. think we just.
I don't remember. I don't remember even how or why we started it. So it had to be a God thing. Wasn't something planned. And we thought, well, I can go in here and I just want people to hear me, to hear my heart and kind of calm people down every day. Maybe if they're cooking, they're going to be at home, we just love on them. And I think it's how it started. I didn't know if I was going to do it. I thought maybe once a week.
That's what our.
And then it was like, well, why don't we just come back tomorrow, y'all? Let's just come back the next. I'll see y'all Monday, I think that's how it started. And so, how has it affected me? I'm gonna be quite honest with you. It's been probably one of the most refreshing revival times that I've experienced in my 30 years of ministry, because it's unplugged me from all the expectations of my ministry to my time with Jesus. And so it's been so sweet to be with him. It's been so sweet for him to love on me. When I don't come to the theater, and you know this to be true, we get here a few minutes before and people will come. Now they don't because of the COVID thing now, but the normal routine is we're here during the day. People will start coming in hour, 2 hours before we even have rehearsal. Can I talk to you? Am I right or wrong? And you start counseling from that point on about people's issues and problems, and counseling and marriage this, and kids are committing suicide, and da-da-da-da-da. And not that those things weren't happening, but it's people you see every day that just want pieces and parts of who you are, which that's what you're here for. And then you have ministry that you're doing the show, or you're doing the rehearsal. Rehearsal's over, somebody wants to sit and talk for another hour because they got an issue. And so you're just constantly, you don't realize until you shut down how much you gave out. And that I literally didn't realize how much I was giving out of a dry well, or giving out of things I just knew. But it's been so nice that God gave back. And so to have those days where I went and worked in my garden, I went and worked outside and dug up plants and talked to God and thanked him and looked at my mother's bird bath that my sister gave me, and how could that be ministry? I went out there and thinking of all the great memories while I'm spray painting it and redoing it, talking to God and thanking him for the time we had together, and looking at scripture and spending time with him. When you have to have a message every day for 5 days, but you'd think that'd be more taxing, but it's just been out of my devotion times at night that I have with my God and my personal devotions, they spill over into the daytime. And it's just been very refreshing for me not to have been pulled at 50,000 different directions and doing ministry that you don't realize that ministry was really, the good things were consuming me away from the important things, which was just the God and I time. And how stripped down, everybody away, and just me and God, and that's been phenomenal. It's affected me in a good way. I'm waiting, but I will tell you this, I've worked hard, and I've shared that with you even. I was like, I need help, I'm freaking out. So I cannot wait till we get back to normal, because I'm going on vacation. I've not had the days off like everybody else has. You know what I'm saying? Like, they're sitting, I know you haven't been, Joe, I know you work too, but I'm saying, but people are at home, they work from home, and I'm going, and people don't understand when you're doing your devotions at night, you're getting ready for the next day, you're pulling your recipes down. Then I don't go to the grocery store at the beginning of the week. I literally wake up and then I have to go to the grocery store because I want things fresh that day. And so I go to the grocery store, I come back, I get all my stuff ready, I've done my devotions, and you see me beforehand getting all my ingredients laid out, and that starts early in the morning. And then you're getting ready, and then how long are we there every afternoon washing the dishes and whoever stopped by for dinner? And today we had a conference right afterwards. We've had almost every day somebody's talking about something going on. They're like, they come by, we have this conference thing or whatever. And so I'm done 2:30, 3. So you're starting at 9:30 in the morning. Going, that's the regular work day we have here. Then I go back and try to work in my garden. Then I have to start that night pulling recipes back ready to get, and then counseling people at night and having phone calls. And it's just, it doesn't stop. But it's different. It's been a great shift because I've got to then focus on the things that are important. Now, back to some of those announcements, right?
Yeah, so I guess what are the newest things? I think we have 3 big ones.
And I want to announce them. Right?
Yes, and that's up to you to announce. I know we've touched on 2 of them, but I guess all 3.
But never really been specific.
Yeah.
All right, here are the big announcements. And so we're wrapping up. I have 5 minutes. I've kind of looked at where we started here. I've got about 5 minutes here I want to share quickly. First of all, I'm grateful that for the last year or so you've seen Stephanie Davidson attached to me at the side. She worked at a part-time job through the week, but she's come alongside. She's directed several shows. She's written. She's assistant directed with me. And you'll see her at a lot of things just kind of tagging along. I know there were days she'd come in and go, what do you need me for? And she'd be hot gluing something with me one day, up in wardrobe the next day, sitting in a boring meeting for 2 hours the next day. And she said, what? Why? You said you needed me. I'm like, but in my mind, I know she's thinking, I'll just help you do. And I know she'd probably walk away from a day thinking, why am I here? But what she didn't know is I was praying, watching her, believing that God was showing me right. And God was designing her job the way it was and how things worked out for that. That we're actually announcing that Stephanie Davidson is our theater manager. She now is going to be where Carmen was before. When Carmen left, I had to take a lot of that back on. I am so glad to let it go. And so she will see her face. Job descriptions have not even been written out for her because we're developing that because it won't be just what the ministry's changed since Carmen and Jacob have left. And it's diverse and it's different, so that's got to look different. And so I don't know what that means. I do know she'll be she's learned everything that Terry took over, kind of watching over the box of it. So she's taken over some things. So when Terry's gone weekends, Stephanie will be here like Carmen was saying, okay, house managers, box office managers, listen, we got to make sure you have all these things in order. Have you got everything ready? And she'll be kind of supervising those because she will be more of that salaried kind of employee that come after hours. Terry's a hourly employee that works 9 to 5, and so Terry does the work through the day and week to get things set up, getting volunteers organized. But Stephanie takes a different. But also, Stephanie will help with creative ends of where we're headed, just like I do. She'll be kind of there with me like Carmen was. What shows, what's our scheduling for this year? Have we got everything laid out where we get everything in? She'll also be writing and directing, which she's already doing, but she'll be doing a little bit more of that. There'll be some major shows that she's going to kind of take over where I can take a back seat, maybe be able to travel more, do a few more concerts and things. That frees me up on those things so I can be more creative writing and get those things in. So Stephanie Davidson is now our new theater manager. She is volunteering that position right now, so she's in and out, and we can't really afford to quote put her on full time at this point. But she is, as far as that is a full time position for her. So she'll be coming on the next couple of weeks on salaried staff and being able to pay her and at least. It's menial, but she'll at least get paid enough gas to get back and forth. But she feels called to be here, and it's taken her this long to kind of groom her into that. So you'll see a lot more Stephanie. So you hear Stephanie speak, just like when Carmen did, you say, yes, sir, yes, ma'am, because she's, and so she'll be coming on. She'll be working on a production team will consist of her, myself, Matty Joe, and John, and Mary. And so that's the production team. Nana will still be as administrator. Now, new announcement, quickly. We have a young lady that's coming on. I prayed about 6 months ago, God send somebody. Our GLOW program was out there. Donna and Renee and Brayley did an incredible job getting GLOW up and going and running that program for years. We prayed, and they prayed, that Lord would send somebody. And I didn't just go fill that position. I approached a couple people, and I just left it. I thought, God, if you want this, you have to bring it. I don't have time for it. And out of that emerged an incredible lady, Patty Hutchins, and also Kristen Hutchins, her daughter, on the tech end of things. But they're coming on, and it's not just the GLOW program. As a matter of fact, we're gonna rename it because we're reboosting it. We're thinking of the names. We've worked on several things and tossed them around. We'll make that announcement. But Patty Hutchins will now come on and start a children's program here. Now let me explain what that is. It's not just the Saturday program. We're working on productions. Patty is actually going to start full time, and hopefully that through the program and through some ways that we can charge certain things through that program, we can get her some salary to help take care of her. She's actually coming in faith, asking for nothing, believing God to provide, and she's had wonderful job opportunities in big churches, and she just really felt called to be here. She called me last week and was like, I need to ask you a question. It was still toying about where she should be, and she had a couple of weeks to let this church decide, and she just called. I said, well, you need to do what God tells you to do, and I support you. And then she just called me and said, I'm in. and she and her husband talked about it, and she and Kristen will be on board. They will be doing also, we're starting in the fall, Lord willing, all this stuff's cleared up, after school program. So I'm excited about that. So she doesn't want to just do, it's going to be after school every day. You'll be able to come in, drop your students off. They'll also be working, it's a theater program, so they'll be working on theater. They'll be coming in and learning theater throughout the week, and also on weekends in the mornings until noon, like Glow did. They'll do that. They work on production going into a spring production. They'll be doing AIM. She'll be doing AIM this year as we do our AIM Artist Ministry Camp. She's taking all kindergarten through 8th grade or whatever, and developing their own program with that. She's also going to be, it's so fluid right now, but it's not just going to be one little program. It's literally going to be a full-time on constant children, constant things. She's going to be volunteers, and as we do that, she's going to announce that. So if you're interested in working with children and you want your children in those programs, of course, some of the programs will be free. They'll be able to scholarship some things out. We'll be offer scholarship for kids who can't afford it, but for those who can, there'll be after-school programs where people can actually pay for their kids to be, picked up, and then they'll come here or whatever. They'll be dropped off, and they'll spend those couple hours, whether it's 3 o'clock till 6 o'clock, and she has full programming on for them, and they'll be working with stuff. It's going to be awesome. And she has so many ideas, and she's like, I'm so excited. And so Kristen is, and they're going to develop this whole thing and a whole team of people. So that's something new that's going to start, and it'll be kicking off. We'll kick it off a little bit before, I'd say in July, we have a big meeting and come in and start signing up, talking about it. She's going to be doing AIM after AIM is over. Then she's going to start in the fall that full-on program, after school program. They're working toward other shows in the fall and other presentations and stuff. So we're excited about that as well. Also, another announcement, right?
This is our big final.
And y'all know that we've been working hard on our website, and I've gotten a chance to look at it, and it is awesome. And so it's all really new, the whole new face of everything on our website. So it's lamplighttheater.com. You cannot see it yet, but the big announcement is that everything's in place. It's going to have everything from devotionals on it. It's going to have every connection point that you can have, whether it's with the new, which we have to add the children's program in with that now. There'll be times where she will highlight different people in our ministry, and some of you that have been here for a while, you'll be asked to come in, and we'll have these little interviews with that. It'll have, it's so interactive, and you can go on and see all the shows, and we saw what months they plan, pick out your seats, go on. It's just a whole different program. So Derek, Chris, and McKenna Arnold have worked hard to pull this program up, and it's going to be constantly ever-changing and interchangeable, and it's a beautiful, beautiful website, and very, very informative. And that's going to be kicking off on, is it May?
May 20th.
May. Okay, May 22nd. Okay, which is just a few days away.
Yes.
So you're looking at just a little over a week. You're going to be able, and it's going to be unveiled, and you'll be able to go in there and really interact with a lot of stuff and see what our new, but we're very, very excited about that. You say, what's the big deal? It's a huge deal. And so it's getting us way out there in a whole different way. And Derek will be really pushing, where McKenna does a lot of PR stuff too. He's going to be really pushing what we call social media. Everything's going with a full burst and full on. And so it's going to be, our goal is to make this more national, more regional, and huge. And so you're going to help us to be able to do that. I think that's the main announcements. I don't know if we answered all the questions. I don't know how personal this stuff is. What we really need to do is something live at some point where we can sit around, even have some people around us, and then you all can ask questions about anything. And so it's interactive. Sorry it wasn't like that. We hope you enjoyed not milling a message, but Billy Wayne and questions. The Q&A time today. And this will be running through the weekend. So listen, my passion is this. I love Jesus with all my heart. And I want to see one more soul come to know Jesus. And I want the body of Christ encouraged. I will tell you this. I don't have time for riffraff anymore. And what I mean by that, there's going to be a different mood when you come into this theater as volunteers. You're going to be held to a higher standard to live and honor God with every part of your life. And we're going to go forward as a theater of excellence. We're going to try to get this face lifted up. We're going to go forward in the name of Jesus. This has inspired me almost like the phoenix out of the ashes. We want something great and something great to come out of this. Anything good in your life is born from adversity. And it's through the hard times and struggles that we meet Jesus, and he revives us out of that, and something great happens. It's out of our deadness that life begins. And I'm so excited about what we've been through and what God's what's going to do and where he's going to take us. So we want you on board. I don't know what the ministry is going to look like, but the Lord told me a year from now, this ministry will not look the same. And I believe that with all my heart. We're not going to be the same place. And it's going to be a whole different ball game. We're excited about you being a part of it, and we'd love for you to come out. We love volunteers. We need workers, and we want you to get hyper focused on where God's leading you. We're excited, and we pray that you'll be exactly where God wants you to be, and we hope here at Lamplight Theater. All right, I'll see you on Sunday morning for a message from the Manor, and back on Monday with Meal and a Message. And I'll be doing that at least the next couple more weeks to figure out what we're going to do and how that's going to look. I love you guys. Be blessed.